everyone, Jasper here from Margaret. We're back to a new Spyro the Dragon review, you guys. And today, oh, hang on, I was just looking at some beautiful picture, on a new, the Spyro's review. Yeah, I was on my personal, file, but not the Spyro file. And we are going to be reviewing the first game of the Legend series. Yes. And personally, my favorite of the trilogy. I introduce to you The Legend of Spyro, A New Beginning. So the story takes place like this. Which, fun fact, if you did not know, The Legend of Spyro was actually supposed to be a movie. Yeah. A full CGI, or kind of, probably not CGI, but a full movie. All three movies combined in one, I believe. If not, then all the movies, like, they were supposed to have, The Legend of Spyro was supposed to have 3 movies. Basically, the trilogy. But they just decided to make it into a game, which I would have loved to see this as a movie, but, oh well. So, we start with a very interesting start. And that is with a dragon. A red dragon. No, not red. Not red. No. This is a different dragon, and his name is Ignitus. And basically some evil people are coming to raid their home. And basically has destroyed most of the unborn dragons. So, he grabs an egg, which is actually Spyro's egg. He takes it to a river, puts it in a basket, and puts it in a lake, and it goes down the lake. I know, it's kind of like the Joseph story, right? It's kind of like the Joseph story. Just looking at that. And this is where we start the game. A family of dragonflies actually gathered around the dragon egg, and but they decide to raise it, and this is how Spyro came to be, guys. Which Spyro thinks he's a dragonfly at first. Yeah, Spyro thinks he's a dragonfly just because he was basically born with dragonflies. And his partner Sparks, which is so hilarious in this game. Man, his dialogue is just so good. And of course, Sparks also was born the same day as Spyro. So they're basically brothers. Which, like I said, I never knew I wanted to see Sparks talk, but this game definitely proved me wrong. Anyway, and then eventually Sparks gets caught. Which they say that can't wait to tell Cinder about this, which Cinder will play in later. And then Spyro saves Sparks by flaming fire out of him, and Sparks almost gets a heart attack because Spyro almost toasted him. And then it is time to confess. Yeah, it's time for Spyro and Sparks' dad and parents to confess to Spyro that he's actually not a dragonfly. And, well, he is their real son. But that is not his real home with the dragonflies. They are his real parents, but it's just not his actual home. So basically the game goes where Spyro is trying to get his way back to his real home. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, they say that he is their real son, that it's just not his real home. his real home, basically. So, eventually Sparks volunteers and asks to venture with Spyro, because they're basically brothers, and they are, because they were born the same time. So, or the same day. So eventually we meet up to Ignitus, and he is shocked to see that Spyro is alive. And then Ignitus talks about blah 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 blah, you know that stuff, and then all this kind of other stuff, and then more other stuff, and then mostly the other stuff, probably some other stuff, and then some enemies come. Ignitus kicks them. And then more stuff happens. And then we get to the actually not boring part. And this is where Spyro is trained with his abilities. Yes. His, like, how to attack and stuff. And, of course, Ignitus shows Spyro what Cinder has done. Which you will see that Cinder is actually not a bad guy, or a bad girl. And you will see in a little while. So, after we do some training, we see a waterfall, or green ooze, and basically we have to go and recruit the other elder dragons that are captured by devious guards that we have to fight. So, Spyro says he can't fly, and truth be told, he can't. I mean, I'm saying that in a advanced way, because he was not, even though he thought he was a dragonfly, he just didn't know how to fly until Ignitus tells him that if he believes he can fly. And then, of course, Spyro can't even start the landing, which I feel very bad for. So, we make it to a snow apocalyptic, or kind of Ice Kingdom level. A lot of stuff, gibberish happens, and then we eventually get to the... And then Sparks just talks gibberish and nonsense, and then he just awakes this kind of devious monster. Which the first Elder, Voltaire, is actually guarded by. Once we defeat him, we save Voltaire, and he says that there's basically, he heard about the rumors of the purple dragon. And then we get back to Ignitus. We have to go to, he says we gotta go recruit the other person, which I can't remember really the names, except Ignitus and Voltaire. That's it. And, of course, Malefor, which he'll come in later. So we have to go to this cool little floating jungle territory area. A lot of stuff, a lot of gibberish stuff happens, along the way. And then we meet up to this guy, which is definitely very jerkish to us. And then, of course, we eventually kick him off into the waterfall, someone off the waterfall. And then they come back and he's saying, what are we even doing here? And leave me in peace. And yeah, he's just being jerkish. This character right here that you are saying was definitely a big jerk in my opinion. And then Spyro reminds Sparks of remember what happened last time. Because there's a big pile of rock which is guarded by the Elder Dragon that we are there to free. And then guess what? This rock, it comes to life. No, not the rock. No, not the rock. Well, I know I probably said that. And anyway, Sparks actually thinks that Sparks thinks that they're worshipping Sparks. And he says that he never got that much attention. And they want them to bow to Sparks. So, it is time for them to go back and find out how to stop Cinder for good. So, when they get back, a lot of good stuff happened. And then he says that freeing the last Elder Dragon won't be too easy. And then, because it's surrounded, or he's where a volcano is. And then we see some mole people. We see some kind of pot, kind of stang fall on top of Spyro or get to him. And then we eventually have to fight a train murderer. Yeah, he tries to kill us with a train. A villain has to try to kill us with a train. And of course we see the final elder. And once we free him, he tells us to get out of here. Because right here, this is Cinder. Yes. This is Cinder right here. And then Malefor comes in, and Cinder manages to capture Malefor and take him to her base. And now it is up to Spyro to save Malefor, the one that tasted him and saved his life before. And once we do a lot of parkour and a lot of gibberish and a lot of stuff and blah 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 blah, anyway, we get to Malefor, which we're not being alone. He tells us to destroy the crystals. But guess who's here? Cinder. Yep, Cinder is here. Once we defeat Cinder, we basically... Ignitus tells us the story of Cinder. She was actually supposed about that the villain called the Dark Master. The Dark Master, that's the main villain of this game. That is Cinder is using Cinder to do evil. See, Cinder is not evil. The Dark Master is just using Cinder and tricking her to release his spirit, his ghost kind of spirit or soul, out of his prison. And one of the funniest lines that Sparks actually says, and even him gets to say it. Oops, did I just say that? Yeah, he actually says this. You can just see it right there. Yeah, in a Spyro game. But anyway, Daddy clarifies what Cinder is, he says. And then he says, and then basically we're too late. And Nida says that we're too late, but Spyro refuses. And then Spyro says, wait, you heard the dragon, Spyro? He said, we're too late. We'll go next time. Come on, champ. You did a great day today, and let's take 5. But Spyro refuses. He really wants to fight him now. And we get to the final section of the game. Once we get there, we find Cinder about to release Malefor, or the Dark Master's spirit / soul, kind of whatever you want to call it, out of its prison, and it is with a crystal to release him out of his prison. So it is Spyro versus Cinder. Sparks says he can't watch this. So after we finally defeat Cinder for good, and she transforms back to her normal self. She is no longer evil. And then they are getting sucked into that prison. And Spyro goes and saves Cinder, the one that tried to kill him to begin with. And they get back to the dragons. And Malefor was saying, Ignitus says that ever since he was telling Cinder, ever since I failed the night of the raid, I've dreamed of this since. But, of course, Voltaire and all the other Elder Dragons said that it wasn't just Ignitus. They all failed. They all failed to save the dragons. And they thank Spyro. And then they talk about his success. And Spyro basically wonders what is going to happen with the Dark Master because he is free. He has been set free. So they tell him to talk about the Dark Master later, and it's time to talk about his success. And then Sparks just starts catching a fit, basically, saying that he didn't get any credit, no love, no respect, and Yeah, and then he just goes random, just complaining and about to everybody else that they don't even give him respect. And then Spyro just is outside. I believe this was the end credit scene. The end credit scene. But Spyro looks outside, worried, and Cinder as well. And Spyro says, basically, he has a bad feeling, and Cinder says it too because, well, Malefor is out there. Malefor is out there, and that's how the first Legend of Spyro game ends. So yeah, what did I think about The Legend of Spyro? A New Beginning. I love it. It's personally my favorite out of the three. Personally, not basically just of Cinder's character and Sparks, just because he just says some of the funniest stuff in this game. And how can you not love Sparks? Right, how can you not love Sparks? But yeah, A New Beginning was the perfect start to the Legend series, I think, of the Legend of Spyro franchise / trilogy. Until next time, where we reveal the sequel of the Legend of Spyro, The Eternal Night. So see you next video. Bye!